Chapter 6. The Re-Encounter. Quote, I would like my life to remain a tear and a smile, one tear that purified my heart and made me understand the secrets of life and the hidden things, a smile that brings me closer to the children of my species, and let it be a symbol of my glorification of the gods. Khalil Gibran. Enrique no longer needs the breadcrumbs she offered him, because his confidence in himself grew, and he developed a unique defense system in the midst of the flames to create this fire for diamonds, that these same high temperatures of fire mold him. Like metal worked under high temperatures to realize a sword forged for the warrior. This leads Nicole to tremble, to fear the encounter, because she knows she has no way out, because her story, her life, and relationships are based on the cynical falsehood of a narcissist, surrounded only by mercenaries and parasites who do not nourish the inner self with good thoughts or intentions. That they will not be in the moment of difficulty because they are transient and precarious relationships. Meanwhile, Enrique continues to grow with his supernova energy that feeds on the spiritual cleansing of each successfully won mental game. And the harder she pushes him with her manipulation tactics, the harder he fights back, already with an elegance as if he were at a Vienna opera ball, because he knows every step, and it doesn't matter if they use poker player qualities, because he saw the cards of the game in anticipation. And as Les Brown expresses, there are hard times when you will doubt your strength, that rough times are going to come, but they have not come to stay, they have come to pass. And you are just developing and enjoying another character-building day. Enrique begins to regain total control of his life and shares it without being emotionally drained by a toxic person, staying present in his center and being aware of who he is. To this pendejo, I'm going to mess up his life. He won't get away with it. And as Julio Iglesias says, si me dejas no vale, expresses Nicole, furious with her father. So, both prepare for the final outburst of anger from a person with low self-esteem and emotionally harmful. Enrique doesn't want to mistreat or harm anyone because it's not amusing and brings no pleasure. On the contrary, it's painful. But if this is the debt that must be paid to prove he's a free man, he fears no price because he's responsible for his life. He also knows it's the only option to cut off the presumptions Nicole has, as she still believes Enrique belongs to her. Belonging to someone is a social and religious disease, mine and yours, since it's possessive and temporary. This is outside what true love is, consciously free by nature. The freer Enrique feels, the more identified he is with this feeling. My life has never been easy, because I've had to fight to be accepted for everything I am. As long as the air I breathe fills my lungs, I won't surrender to the feet of a person who lacks good values and hasn't earned my respect. Enrique reminds her. He may not be the smartest, fastest, or strongest, but he has a power, an energy, an indomitable spirit that guides him not to stop until he completes what he has started. So, for a long time, the source that emanates the vital collagen water, with the attention and emotional validation she needs to survive and rejuvenate, has closed to her by ignoring so many obvious things. I will use and do whatever is necessary to destroy him. Every malicious technique I have learned and perfected in recent years, I will apply to Enrique because he thinks he's better than me to treat me this way, ignore me, and leave me like this. Well, he better prepare for war. Nicole responds with insensate arrogance and mocks him. But he doesn't feel superior. Quite the opposite. He is humble yet confident because life has taught him to love people, animals, and nature as they are, without wanting to change them. He also knows how to accept the flow of emotions, such as sadness or pain, because without them, we wouldn't appreciate happiness and success. Therefore, it's essential to experience them without modifying anything. He just wants to be left alone and live his new life with his loved ones. He doesn't want to judge or waste time with anyone. Thus, he observes, listens attentively, and allows everyone to be who they want to be, like a handkerchief that absorbs and helps dry the tears of emotions. Lastly, he no longer depends on anyone or anything to be well, happy, or at peace with himself. It's a new art he practices for improving himself on the journey of life, something initiated on his first trip to Bali, Indonesia, the island of the gods, which opens his consciousness and allows the modification and development of his subconscious for a new version that helps him truly understand himself and balance his emotions without swinging from one extreme to another, connecting with the all and experiencing it in silence. In this way, Nicole prepares her verbal attacks, documented and in writing. She calls on her best lawyers, her police servants, and the neighbors who are her subjects to involve them in her mental games and coordinate certain physical attacks with one of her lovers who lives upstairs as part of her non-Swiss guards. This man would have to come to her defense when he shows up to request his personal belongings back. But he understood her tactics and was unsuccessful because in this war, at least two people are needed, and Enrique doesn't react. He only responds when the time demands it, because, as Sun Tzu reminds us, the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting, being useless in the eyes of those people who can't comprehend his moves at first glance, like water that flows naturally and effortlessly, and, in the same way, can shape mountains, rocks, and metals without agitation. He doesn't give her the satisfaction she so desires to feed her ego with her allies, leading her to delirium and impatience. That's why they watch, hate, and imitate, because she always wants to get what she wants, one way or another. But you are not what you want, but what you do with a focused and grateful mind for everything, where he is not motivated by fear, but by love. And this is not a disease, but a cure. He doesn't get lost in the problem, but seeks solutions. A mind that is not in a state of deprivation, that doesn't live in scarcity, but in abundance with the universe, and is happy to share that soul prosperity with those around him, adding value to his life and his surroundings. You see, I told you, this is exactly how I knew it would be. He'll come back to my house like a repentant dog, hungry and cold. Nicole dreams in her mind and thinks that he will come to beg on his knees for her to let him into the apartment, since she believes she has taken everything from him, and whatever little he has is inside this apartment, or she will have made everything disappear. However, only time will tell the truth to those who come out of this illusion. But the super empathetic one doesn't miss the opportunity to expose all the false masks she has created, stripping away that shell. Nicole has no choice but to look in the mirror and recognize her weaknesses and insecurities, which she protects and doesn't want to change. Instead, she has chosen the easier path, the shortcut of using others with the sweat of sex and deceit, like the daughters of Lot. In the long run, she will have to pay a hefty price because she needs to focus on herself instead of destroying others. This drives her to madness because she refuses to accept the truth, and her energies are depleting as she has allowed the same poison into her veins that she used to destroy those who didn't want to be with her anymore and rebelled against her. No more collagen for her wrinkles, no more milk for Cleopatra, no more urea for her aging skin. The sun itself refuses to tan her. The sun's rays repudiate her, and therefore she has to resort to using only fake light lamps. And so much less she has no more ink of pain and blood to cover her white hairs hidden in her head. After a short time, Nicole returns, friendly, submissive, patient, and superficially sweet, to say over the phone, "Let's start from scratch. Enrique, I'm telling you that we can start anew, and excuse me if I somehow hurt you because I didn't realize anything. Come on, let's start our good times again." She promises Enrique that she has changed, that she is a new person, not a threat to anyone. And more than that, she is a better person, a clean soul, and only for the good. But Enrique had heard this over and over again, like an old scratched CD that keeps skipping on the radio, playing the same part, the same emotionless and insincere words, because narcissists, like psychopaths, never recognize that they have a problem. Instead, they justify themselves because that's just the way they are. They apply pure Machiavellianism to form the triangle of dark psychology. As if this weren't enough to brainwash, Nicole adds a fourth element to give more stability to the workspace, to her table that she uses in her masterpiece. And this last element is sadism. These four elements are used behind closed doors, that is, when they are alone with the victim, as that's when they most enjoy themselves, rejoice and relish in the misfortunes of others, especially those who don't do what they want. They use persuasion techniques, as if it were the seduction of a hypnotic tango in NLP, all without taking responsibility for the change they need to make. Now, Nicole enters the phase of deep envy because she sees that she is not part of Enrique's life. Envy is nothing more than a degenerate form of great esteem. She tries to compete with Enrique, even when he doesn't even think vaguely about her or this. She will launch a new attack guided by the jealousy that blinds her and makes her more impulsive. And it won't be just against Enrique, but will extend to his first core, family, second core, work life, and third core, relationships with friends. In other words, anything related to Enrique, because she sees him grateful and happy even with limited economic resources. In fact, she sees him like never before in his life. This means that he is very determined, satisfied with his steps because he knows what he wants, and moves towards it with constancy, and against every obstacle that this matrix, prepared by the architects against him, presents. But one day, they will be the ones walking barefoot over this fire. Enrique is different. I don't recognize him. Something has changed him. He's a strange person. I see him happy when he has nothing and has lost everything. What could have happened to him? He's in harmony despite the army of pantomime clowns I've sent him, or the online deceptions. How is it possible that he doesn't react? He even turned off his smartphone. Nicole analyzes during a brainstorming meeting, speculating on what she could do to lure him back into her webs. And she continues to observe, along with her group of experts, the registrations and closed-circuit cameras where he's located. I don't understand. What is he hiding? Follow him every moment. She orders with so much eagerness and bitterness because she doesn't see the results she expected and had studied all her life since she thought with hope for an easy target to kill. Therefore, Enrique and Esteban go for cocktails on Saturday night at a bar in the city center, well known as Die Geil Spot. There, they sit at the bar, and Enrique orders a New York sour, while Esteban opts for a gin basil smash. Enter Justin from Luxembourg, very friendly, wanting to be the instant friend. What are you guys doing? What are your names? Where are you from? Justin enthusiastically exclaims. We're having a drink, can't you see? Esteban responds curtly and already annoyed, impolitely inviting him to go bother someone else. In contrast, Enrique calmly responds and introduces himself to Justin. After chatting and having a few drinks among themselves, they decide to step outside for a moment to smoke some mini Cuban cigars, leaving Justin and his two friends close to their cocktails to see what he does with them. Since Justin had a horrible and active cold sore, in their absence, he takes both drinks, sips them, and then spits them out. But when they return, he continues to be very friendly. Next round is on me. What are you having? Justin says eagerly, trying to finish the cocktails. Esteban quickly responds, No, it's okay, thanks. But Justin continues to try to be sticky in a very obvious way. But it doesn't go well because he's not welcome. He forces the move further by patting both on the head while pretending to be drunk. Come on, guys, don't be unfriendly with me. Justin shouts at them and rubs their heads. Enrique looks at him seriously in the eyes, and in a split second, Justin leaves him alone. He doesn't touch Enrique's head anymore, completely ignoring him. Instead, Justin keeps his right hand on Esteban's head to play around a bit more, rubbing his hair. Esteban quickly gets irritated and wants to hit him immediately, but Enrique looks at Esteban right away, and he communicates with his eyes, conveying, "It's not worth it. Let it go. Don't waste your time with him. Use common sense." But even Enrique is losing his temper and has to calm his emotions and mind. "I could break his fingers or his arm. No, calm down, my boy. Can't you see?" Enrique thinks, reflecting on the situation he's quickly living. "Hey, if I'm bothering you, tell me, and I'll leave." Justin responds to the two. Esteban and Enrique look at him slowly to see his reaction. And Esteban says, "How much have you had to drink tonight? Relax." "All right, I'll leave. Ciao, chicos." Justin then returns to his friends. While they continue to enjoy the night and have drinks, Enrique stays and talks with two girls he knows at the bar. They are sitting alone at a table. One is Maria, of Dominican origin, who shares that her father is from the Dominican Republic. The second is Jenny, a passionate dancer with Asian origins and alignments. After a few minutes, Esteban returns from outside where he had gone to smoke, and he tells Enrique some news. Esteban says, "I just met another Dominican while I was outside." "Glad to hear it," Enrique responds sarcastically. While the four of them take a table and continue talking and drinking, this famous Dominican approaches him and greets Enrique directly. "Hi, how are you? You're Dominican, right? That's what your friend told me." "Pleasure to meet you. My name is Ronaldo." He introduces himself. "Hello," Enrique says, rising slowly as he looks directly into Ronaldo's eyes to greet him better and get a good look at his face, because he already knew where the music was coming. "What are you doing here in Cologne?" Enrique asks, not being friendly because he doesn't like him from the start. "I make music, and you?" Reynaldo asks in a friendly manner. "I enjoy technology, as well as exploration and innovation, among other things," Enrique replies. "Geil," Reynaldo says in German. "And how's it going with the music?" Enrique asks. Reynaldo answers and then asks, "Very well. And when are you going to the Dominican Republic?" Enrique responds only, "Soon I will go down there, al patio." At the end of the short conversation, Ronaldo says goodbye and wants to exchange mobile numbers to stay in touch. Enrique shares his number and leaves immediately because he doesn't want to continue talking with him. His instincts make him feel the negative energy, the low vibrations from this guy, and he goes to the bathroom. Meanwhile, Reynaldo starts asking every girl near his table for their Instagram, especially those who greet him or know him, including Maria and Julia, another girl who is a friend of Enrique. What is he trying to do this time? Enrique thinks. What a data collection for the wonderful Nicole, who has a whole network to capture whoever she wants and how she wants. Esteban and Enrique go out to smoke again while the girls go to the bathroom. A kind guy approaches Enrique to give him Jenny's wallet that she had forgotten. "Hey, this is from one of the girls with you, right?" says Leniakai. "Oh, yes, thanks," Enrique says, and enters with Esteban to check the table. Esteban and Enrique continue talking, having kulsh, and playing entertaining games with the girls. They eventually let them go because the situation was very uncomfortable with a fake couple in front of them, filming them with smartphones, especially Esteban, who was dancing. Additionally, a group of 3 guys sat immediately behind their table and did nothing but talk to Enrique to get closer to them. They leave the Guile spot a few minutes after the girls say goodbye and leave. But as if all this wasn't enough, Ronaldo writes to Enrique in the middle of the night, around 3:39 a.m. on NowSap. "Do you want her?" Ronaldo writes with curiosity. Who are you talking about? Enrique responds late in the morning, almost at noon. Yesterday's girl. Ronaldo writes insistently. But Enrique already knows what Ronaldo wants to find out, and he doesn't respond to his message. He ignores it because he doesn't want them to start. 1. Stalking him, or even less. 2. Bombarding Maria through Vinstagram, who is not central to this story. She's just a pleasant girl with common origins, and it was fun spending a nice evening in good company. The interesting thing is that a few days later, Enrique goes to another bar to greet a bartender he knows there at the Win Lounge Bar. Exactly there, a few minutes after he sits down and orders something to drink, around 22:30, one of the guys from the group of 3 on the previous Saturday at D. Guile Spot enters. Hello, how are you? Do you remember me? I'm Lenikai. I brought you the wallet of the sexy Asian girl who was with you last Saturday night when you were outside smoking. Lenikai explains to Enrique. Enrique. Oh, yes, of course. How are you? Good. And how are they? Where are they? Lenikai asks. Enrique responds with another question to deflect, since he doesn't know him and doesn't like intrusive people. Who are you talking about? Quote, Normality is a paved road. It is comfortable to walk, but no flowers grow on it. Vincent van Gogh, Lenikai reminds him. The Dominican and the Asian girls? Enrique quickly ends the conversation. I'm sorry, I have too many friends to remember vaguely who you're talking about. Anyway, I wish you a good night and take care. Lenikai understood that he had to leave and quickly took out his phone to make a fake call. In reality, he needed to take some pictures of Enrique to send them to his client, Nicole, who longed to see him up close again. Returning to studying the behavior of a narcissist, it's easy to describe everything, but the difference lies in the lived experience to understand the infinite cycle of this toxic relationship with a covert narcissistic that continues until the empathetic person is consumed and replaced by another supplier. We have already seen the behaviors of what is called covert narcissism, i.e. being around the victim, hovering, to keep launching love bombs that attract every naive person into their webs. Love bombing. Then moving on to discrediting you as if playing with values in the financial sector and not as a person. Also gradually lowering self-esteem, very superficial but effective in the short term, gaslighting, and finally, discarding the supplier, discard, like organic waste. After being totally consumed, exhausted, and weakened, the empathetic person is replaced by a new player, by the novelty of the moment that provides the thrill of freshness, leaving space and time for their new battery or fool, called a simp substitute. These are the cycles of narcissistic manipulation to infinity, creating an empire or a monster. Furthermore, it involves a passive-aggressive mode in the relationship and frenetic control that aims for the total isolation of the individual, because one should only depend on him or her. In other words, this person has a personality with introverted tendencies and a traumatic past. Seeing that virtual, online, or phone contact no longer works, Nicole tries to see him in person. She manages to find out that Enrique had a meeting at Win in the early afternoon, at 14:15 on the 4th Tuesday of March. He took a brief break from his work at home. So there wasn't much time in this encounter, less than an hour to finish the conversation. After enjoying a good espresso with the people he had to discuss some future business matters with, he finishes and immediately goes to pick up his bicycle that he left parked in Dorfplatz. It was a wonderfully beautiful day, full of sun and with a pleasant temperature, signaling the beginning of the beautiful and young spring. As he approaches the square, he realizes that he is being followed and photographed by a stranger. Now, what do they want? Enrique thinks, annoyed because they don't let him live his life in privacy. This man realizes that he has been noticed and trembles without knowing how to disguise it. He stops to pretend to take another direction and looks at the camera screen, observing the images taken, pretending to be a common tourist. Enrique sees him, ignores him not to waste time, and moves on his bicycle. While crossing the square to return quickly to his apartment for another work appointment, he sees her and recognizes her after a long time. To whom? Nicole, dressed in a brown linen suit, carrying a small day bag and beautiful heels. But she is not coming to talk and find a solution with him, or at least justify her childish behavior. No, not at all. She organizes a photo shoot in the middle of the square with a professional photographer, and at the same time, a man spins around with children in a baby carriage. In the midst of all this confusion, this cinematic set, Enrique passes by. Nicole looks at him, smiles, and in a few seconds turns her face down. Look at me. I'm beautiful and fabulous. Nicole expresses with her body and face for a moment. I see you, and I realize that you are still unhealed, completely sick with this mania for protagonism. Enrique thinks and is disappointed. So, he looks down with a certain shame and disillusionment. He doesn't stop for a second to talk to her. He pedals without stopping because it would only be a great waste of time. Time, the most valuable asset for Enrique. And he thinks carefully before investing it with people or activities that have to be nourishing to bring him emotional well-being. That is, only with people who resonate at his high frequency. At the same time, he is surprised by Nicole's limitation. Once again, this woman does not deny her narcissistic origin. She only wants to feed that insatiable ego and has no intention of changing because she doesn't want to change. She wants to continue living in her falsehood of a plastic world where only she feels comfortable, and this will lead her to a sad, lonely, and unhappy end if she doesn't make a radical change in her life. Because so many people limit themselves to the superficial, which is momentarily ephemeral and not happiness. Instead, he seeks inner well-being, as described by Gandhi when he says, "Happiness is when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony." But she needs to know more, scrutinize him, continues with her same maniacal ways of investigating his life. Unfortunately for her, Enrique already knows and pretends to be ignorant. He turns a blind eye. Because he has reached the point of anticipating the game and enjoys it, it's like playing with children in a playroom. Enrique already knows that there will come a moment when she abandons the game because she will lose, so she has to find another supplier immediately or try to change this behavior with personality disorders. The latter option is almost impossible for a narcissist if they want a better future in life and maturity. As a person who is in search of knowledge of the truth and, most important, expand the consciousness, providing that freedom of the soul that we all desire to free the conscience. Now is the time for spiritual catharsis, for cleansing the soul, for finding oneself, observed Enrique as he perceived all of Nicole's deceptions, because he feels dirty with narcissistic traits, the devil hand, and dark manipulation, with the chameleon-like mirage he had to apply to himself as a defensive shield. He soaked his being with these narcissistic traits in this long and tough war, which has cost him more than 3 years of his life. And he can't wait to return to the peace of his balance, of his being, because life is a passage of seasons that blooms like the lotus of 1,000 petals, eternal in its divinity and not permanent in its beauty. Therefore, you can obtain everything with the abundance that this cosmos has for you by using a clean and harmonious technique that allows things to happen by letting the universe's law bring you what you desire. Because you already have those powerful instruments, Buddha's heart, of visualization, meditation, and action to activate your higher frequency. At this moment, he has and needs time to leave behind that structure of the past, that lack of love, and return to his present with the help of experts, friends, and loved ones who offer him unconditional love, not romantic. Instead, accepting the initial conditions to move on to the next step of loving the new person who will come into his life and create new moments of healthy, beautiful, and strong love for the new generations of Saskia in this world. That beautiful person he describes every day in his moments of meditation, reflection, and connection with the universe, and who also gives him the option to attract what is in his heart. Like loving everything around him, every living being, because it is part of creation, as you are in the Shema, and praying for those who pursue him without any motivation. So she physically meets him once again, reorganizing everything because she had nothing left to prove. She had no choice but to see him and speak with humility and sincerity. So, she arrives in the city center of Cologne again. He recognizes her, and they sit in a cafe. While Enrique observes through the glass windows a black cat walking near a tree outside this place. "What do we do?" Nicole asks. "Domanda inutile," Enrique replies. "Perché?" she questions. "Nothing. We're already doing it. The change, that's what I mean." Enrique responds. "Ancora tu e I tuoi giochi mentali." She responds anxiously. "Hai già mangiato o no?" he asks her. "No, ho fame anch'io," she says with a desire to eat together. "E non soltanto di te," he says to her tenderly and sensually. She smiles and blushes, while he has the feeling of having already lived that moment in his life. Another déjà vu. "Che bella sei, sembri più giovane, o forse sei solo più simpatica." He flatters her. "It feels like living a concert with Lucio Battisti," Nicole says, laughing and cheerful to Enrique. "Sono contento che ancora lo ricordi," Enrique says as they take a break to have coffee without losing sight of each other. "We talk about us, Enrique, because I don't want to play these mind games anymore. I'm tired of all these lies of power," she says desperately, touching her fingers. "Go, walk, and prove it to the world, to your surroundings, but first to yourself, to yourself, to yourself, and only to you, Nicole. You have everything inside you. Don't be afraid to heal this discomfort you carry like the angel of death. Bring it out and make room for the new and the good. But you have to take a step back into your past and clean up everything that doesn't let you live, shed light on the darkness, or improve what you can't see due to false schemes. I'm fine, and better if you are doing well on your journey in this life to change. But don't deceive yourself, because you can't deceive anyone else. Only yourself, Nicole. Remember it well." He explains to her how things are around her. From there, a new door to the metaverse opens, attracting the two of them to move on to another life, where they had already met through a dating app and decided to live together for almost 2 years in Cologne. Nicole and Enrique continue their conversation in the living room of that small apartment near Blucher Park, while he is packing his things from the apartment and the basement, Keller. Quote, "Being alone, that's the secret of invention. Being alone, that's when ideas are born." Nikola Tesla. "I love you," Nicole says, firm, strong, and suddenly because she doesn't want him to leave and leave her alone in that life desert. Enrique pauses and responds as he continues to gather his belongings and put them all in cardboard boxes because the transporter with the van is about to arrive to take his things away from there. Those words will sound better when you become the new Nicole, if you do it just for yourself. But thanks for everything you made me live in these years, because, in the end, you helped me discover myself and recognize my weaknesses, overcome them, and continue getting to know myself on this journey I have ahead. And I will do it alongside many people who love me for who I am. That is, never alone," Enrique says confidently, attracting new and positive energy around him while eliminating all harmful bacteria that come close to his life. Because when you are in a spiritual awakening, Many love and family relationships are cut off because these people, unfortunately, are not on the same frequency and can no longer tune in. So, not with me, is it? Nicole quickly answers herself. I'm sorry, Nicole, but I already have someone special in my life, a wonderful woman, Enrique confesses, having found someone else who truly loves him and, moreover, helped him out of the depressive tunnel that she had led him into. This new person supported him in his existential crisis, telling this trauma that it will be just a traumatic past. With a delicate gaze in Nicole's eyes, Enrique communicates to her that he doesn't believe her at all, and with a tender, diplomatic touch in his hands, he shows her that she has been rejected, wishing her the best and hoping that one day she will change and learn to love herself and others sincerely, to enter into a true emotional, spiritual, and physical connection that involves the beauty of making love and being loved by the person you love, and not confusing this with the mere cheap thrill of temporary fun, an animalistic need that only seeks to fill one void with an even larger and worse void. Nicole rebuts. I don't believe you. Why? Live in the truth, and don't hide behind those masks that no longer fit you. Get out of that loop of Nazis' feminism, because others can no longer pretend not to notice. First, forgive yourself, because God already has. Don't carry that unnecessary burden. Second, change your mindset, your way of thinking, and then change your skill set. No excuses. Start now. With small steps, always do your best, and you'll see the difference. This is only if you want to heal from that sick religious mantis that lives within you. Enrique concludes calmly in a chapter filled with ashes. Nazis' feminism? She asks, surprised that he knows the old advantage-opportunity techniques that these ultra-feminists use with their male victims or suppliers. Yes, Nazis' feminism, this mechanism of strong weakness that shows people's institutions or society to present you as a victim. Nowadays, women are no longer questioned or doubted about everything they say or do. For example, every time I come to the house because I need somethings for my properties. But you desperately call 112, your police friends, lying and saying that I am aggressive and want to harm you when all I asked for is a scheduled appointment to retrieve my things. But today, who will they believe? A seemingly helpless blonde woman who self-inflicts harm, willingly makes noises or shouts for help like a Hollywood actress? Or will they believe me, a foreigner and a person of color, a Latino, who only wants to live in peace with those who love him for who he is, as a simple human being? Enrique explains in detail the techniques used by Nicole and the religious novices, mantis, in the past and perfected today as they gain more power, but in the furtive silence of the Shesha. No, Enrique, I have no interest in Nazis' feminism. She rejects what he says and looks down as she speaks. Of course, because now I cannot even tell you that you're a Palo Santos toucher, because you're more Becca's flower liquor, he tells her. Flower liquor? What are you saying, Enrique? Who am I sucking? She's just my best friend, I already told you. She always plays the innocent victim, looking up while speaking, avoiding eye contact. Why do you think I don't know about your screwing with her, your so-called best friend? You always say that, but it's only in Becca's bed that you can live the ideological illusion of creating a new world of Nazis' feminism, only in that moment when you use a cold, sterile, lifeless rubber dildo. But remember, the penis you like and that brings you to an orgasm bathed in coconut water is mine, and no matter how much you jump and skip, you die right here, my girl. Enrique points directly at his penis with his hands on his pants, forming a triangle facing Nicole. Becca's, if I had to lie with her and be her woman because I had to prevent her from harming you, she wanted to kill you out of jealousy because she knew what was written by the oracle, because I chose you and not her. Nicole justifies her bisexual or intermittent lesbian situation to give life to Nazis' feminism in that place. Okay, that's why you had to train so much with Becca's in her bed, I mean in her house, and not in the gym like she always does for recruit servant mercenaries. God, and all this because they think they have a penis integrated into their brains, but he kriegt uns nie. We don't even have the same pituitary gland that regulates our organs, and this will be a direct knockout in the guancha, when you and Beckus understand it. Just like a man is not prepared to give birth because his body structure is different. Look and study the pelvic girdle of both sexes, and you'll realize, he tells her, confident in what he knew, not because he studies books, as he's a strange type, but by just touching the pages of a book or observing the images, he immediately gets the encrypted message that a certain manual carries. Pelvic girdle? What do you mean by this? I don't follow. She has no idea about human anatomy. Your hip bone, your pelvic girdle, is different from a man's. That's why you can give birth naturally, and a man has a more closed hip bone, making it incompatible for the final stages of natural pregnancy. Enrique explains the human physiology to Nicole. Did you study medicine too? Are you a doctor? And you didn't tell me in these 2 years we've been together. She's upset because she thought she knew everything about this man named Enrique. It's not necessary to go to medical school to understand this and many other things, so Beckas or anyone else who fits the description should go to study a bit more and have some sessions with a good psychologist-philosopher who can guide them better. Enrique reveals what might be beneficial for Beckas, or perhaps for Nicole as well, as long as she could use professional help. Quote, "Love does not begin and end the way we seem to think it does. Love is a battle. Love is a war. Love is a growing up." James A. Baldwin. Uh-huh. At this point, I have to ask, is it true that you also play the piano? Nicole asks Enrique, very curious since she realizes she has been with a stranger for 2 years, and by not being open, she missed the opportunity to get to know this peculiar and rare man. You'll discover that in due time because wanting to know everything at first sight is not good for your health. And look at you now. Espérate, mami. Suavecito que es mejor. Enrique doesn't want to reveal all his qualities to Nicole without being able to trust her completely. No, Enrique, it's just that she's very possessive of me, and I had to sacrifice in 4-H with Beckas too, until finally you came into my life. She explains to Enrique. Ah, that's why you don't even have time to raise your children, or you simply don't care since you don't nurture that maternal vein, because you're so busy with your sexual sacrifices for the salvation of the world. Enrique replies to Nicole. Enrique, enough! It was just a role I had to play. She shouts loudly in the basement, covering her ears and closing her eyes, turning her face, neck, and chest red like a red tomato because she doesn't want to hear or accept reality. Why are you getting upset? Enrique asks very calmly. All right, I understand. Don't talk to me about that anymore. It's in the past. But tell me, who is she? She emphasizes, staring into his eyes, observing him like a snake probing and trying to instill fear in its victim. Tell me something. How are your children? He pauses and asks her again, changing the question because her viper-like gaze has no effect, no fear. Children? What children? What are you talking about? I wanted to have children only with you, and I told you that time in bed that I want at least 5 sons and daughters from you, and that's why I was preparing. But you want to have children with me and thousands of other women, and I won't allow that. She dodges the question and responds with what happened in the last 10 months. Because she couldn't tell him that she was sold, and her children are hostages. Oh, woman, remember that if I chose you as my wife, you didn't have to hide your children from me, nor lie by omission, as they are like my own blood. And it is my duty as a man to provide, love, and protect them, just as I do with you, foolish. Enrique makes her understand that when a man accepts a woman as his partner, he also accepts her previous children with the same love, as if they were his own. Because he understands what happened to her, but he wants to prove his loyalty. It's just that I didn't know how you would react, and I was afraid of losing you because you're very important to me. Since the first day I met you, Enrique. Nicole explains why she omitted something as important as her children to him. Oh, Nicole, please tell me about those children you have from different men and that you've hidden for all this time. You know, it's been a good 2 years of a relationship, and we've been living together without knowing, and hiding it is... Wow. Not to mention the morbid, secret, and promiscuous relationship you have with your neighbor killer who lives above your floor in this building. Yes, that man with the old red car, who in turn should offer you protection in case of an emergency, because not many people want you anymore, and instead want to erase you from the map. Enrique replies to Nicole very calmly because he knew all this mess for a long time, but wanted to see how far the wickedness of a woman like her could go. Without prejudice and without reason. What are you talking about, Enrique? It's you who surely betrayed me. This winter, when you went to visit your family and stayed at a resort in Punta Cana. She puts weight on him, thinking he won't have the courage to tell her. Did I betray you? Let me see. When I went to my house in the Dominican Republic, it was because we broke up, and I had to run away from here because of all the psychological torture you put me through, and what was coming, what you were plotting behind my back. So this doesn't count, and despite everything, I was alone with just one girl, and I felt like 30 years of my life were taken away because of the pain I felt. Ah, but you, Nicole, your promiscuity, that's your thing with your dear neighbor and so many other close to you. Those Friends fans that I'm not here to mention them all. Oh, but you do that only because you enjoy in creating discrepancy around you with your art of discord and war imposition among your card-loving soldiers, those elves who don't understand that you're only creating a paper relationship to attract more attention. But the rain destroys even the paper. Remember that well. Enrique tells her only some things he had perceived instantly, but didn't give importance to, because he hoped to see a sincere change in her that she would one day openly discuss with her partner. Enrique, stop rambling and tell me who is this new woman in your life is. I don't feel well. She asks insistently, as she doesn't want to respond to the strong statements just made by him, and this makes her change color, turn pale, lower her blood pressure, start trembling, and break out in a cold sweat. Quote, Indeed, I'm sorry to be so difficult. It's the only word I find to define myself. Difficult in terms of my way of being, my way of thinking. I am difficult to deal with, to love, to endure. Believe me, I know I am. Jamie Sabinez. No, you tell me next time you need to be with another man or woman. Just tell me, and I'll prepare you a gangbang spritz with plenty of lemon and orange, and with the G as topping, God's drug. But I hate it when a person is fake and lies, and keeps lying always, while destroying the world behind their back. Believe me, I won't create any kind of problem in telling you with all the respect I have for you. Enrique tells Nicole what he honestly thinks and confesses that he detests lies or omissions. So, it's your favorite little friend, the one with the saintly name. What's her name? Denise? Oh, no, her name is Magdalena, that red-haired slut who always acts nice with you, isn't it? Nicole asks Enrique, very upset, in a furious manner, due to her toxic codependency in relationships. At least the universe has smiled at me and given me a real friend in my life like Magdalena, who is crazy, intelligent, and fun. And she's not depressive, boring, fake, or a liar like you. And maybe, now that I think about it, why not go out with her? Enrique answers Nicole in an enlightened way, since he hadn't considered Magdalena for a romantic relationship. No, Enrique, stop joking. This is serious, but I'm sure it's Leilat, that satanic woman who always dresses in black, and I can be sure that she's the one using black magic on you. Nicole confesses another prejudice about her friend Leilat to Enrique. Interesting confession. What would Leilat do to me? Surely less harm than you have already done to me. You know what? I'll go out dancing with her too, because you never know what you're missing out on due to deficiencies like yours. Enrique is tired of these shots in the dark that Nicole takes, and he answers her directly and without mincing words, because sometimes your best friend could be your ideal lover in your life due to compatibility, and you don't know it yet because you don't recognize it. Enrique, please, enough already. I'm not well. I feel bad. Besides, they only want to take the prize for the ego since they don't really love you like I do. That's why they want to steal my position. Enrique, go out dancing with me, your woman. We haven't been to the club in almost 2 years. I know how to dance, and I love dancing with you. You already know that because we dance all the time in the apartment. Nicole feels very weak after receiving all those impact bombs in just a few minutes. But still, she confesses a truth about the role she has always played in dancing with Enrique since they danced all the time, at all hours, and everywhere with him. What's happening, sweetheart? He asks her because he cares about her health situation, even though this woman is stronger than you might imagine. The pressure. And she sits on a suitcase against the basement wall. Everything is fine, my queen. He replies to her to calm her. What are you going to do? What will you want to do with me? Do you want to kill me now? She worries about the consequences her actions might have while crying like a victim. No, you don't even deserve me to kiss you in your mouth, like Ra did when making love to his favorite woman. He was so healthy and in harmony with the universe that even his sweat matter was divine, and he won the bet too, with that crazy hermit in the Alexandria's desert who made silly laws and made his people suffer while masturbating and hiding inside the caves, and that's why he was weak and didn't fulfill his duties to his consorts. So, as punishment, he ended up being cursed and turned into a beetle that carries only excrement across the land from generation to generation. Enrique explains to Nicole that there's nothing to fear. And how do you know that story about Ra? And what do you want to do with me? She self-questions aloud and sadly. I have seen and known many things that you can't even imagine. But getting back to you, I would send you to work for 7 months in a school with children aged between 7 to 14 so that you understand the importance of raising your sons or daughters in a healthy environment, in a family, and never abandoning them because they need the love of a real mother. After that, you would spend another 7 months in a geriatric hospital to understand that we all die, and there are many elderly people who gave their lives in service to humanity to have the best conditions we live in today in this world that you can see around you. No, I joke, just take care of your mind and heart. Enrique explains to Nicole that we are all important and no one is better than anyone else, so he has to be vigilant. No, you don't understand, Enrique, that this has been a tragedy since I arrived at an early age in this city of Cologne. I prefer to stay in northern Italy or Switzerland and not here, she justifies herself to him. Yes, you're just a manipuladora. Yes, you with your traps and entanglements while pretending to ignore me and putting on your victim face to then make excessive demands. Enrique shouts at Nicole. No, you don't understand. They brainwashed me and passed me through the arms of all ideological points with the worst evidence, deceiving me and telling me that who was about to arrive was not a man but a monster with 9 heads. And that's why I did what I did until I met you, Enrique. Nicole confesses to Enrique, I don't believe you. You're just a manipulator, with your love triangles that you always start comparing with your psychological torture, always blaming me and then using sex only as a reward for being a man with you. Enrique tells Nicole, No, Enrique, see, since I lived with you, I realized that the mafia beast that you are, well, maybe you are with others who wish you harm, but with me, you have only been a gentle and affectionate gentleman within your limits. It's since then that I understood that this was the same shit of tragedy repeated for generations between families of different reigns, but in the end, 2 diverse ones find balance. breaking the chains of William Shakespeare's nightmares with the Montecchi of Romeo and the Capuletti of Juliet. Nicole recognizes her mistakes and feels bad and depressed about it. But even Shakespeare has studied, girl, although you are always the same person from the criminal Babylon, especially when you use those attacks and ultimatums with your servants, or bastard wasp demons to achieve your goals, or else you go with your total silence treatment to gain power and then make me feel obligated or indebted to you. Please, not to mention when you treat me like a child because you want to feel superior to me. All this is manipulative, and manipulative, Enrique angrily shouts at Nicole. No, enough, Enrique. What I did it to wake you up because you were asleep with that yellow fever. It made you look stupid, a failure, and you were desperately simp. But that's not the man I want by my side. That will not be the father of my children. She tells him calmly after shouting at him to calm him down, and touches his face with her left hand when she finishes speaking. I know, don't feel guilty. It only makes you stronger and wiser, my treasure. Lift your head, sweetheart. And that's why we have to consider our actions, because they reflect in the microspace, as in the macro universe of this time. And for this reason, I come out with my head held high from this 12th night, because they play dice with our emotions and laugh behind our backs. So it's time to break this matrix of illusion that blocks the fear of loving without fear, and become gods of our destiny that alternate from position to position in this game of power, like when we are in our bed making love until reaching the samadhi. Enrique finally agrees on an essential point for many couples who find themselves in the suffocating limbo of fear, and it's nothing more than a false reality, an illusion that keeps them in inertia, that is, invalid. Yes, look what they did to the Twin Towers because they didn't want us to know each other, and also didn't allow us to love because we are soulmates, who found each other after many generations because you are my king, and I am your queen sitting on your left with gold from Ophir. Nicole confidently confesses to Enrique. Calm down, sweetheart. That Empire State Building not located in New York will fall with the delicate touch of a butterfly's wing. Enrique responds calmly to Nicole. Kiss me. I want to make love with you again. She approaches with the same willingness to make love with him. Quote, angels call it divine pleasure. Demons, infernal suffering. Men call it love. Heinrich Heine. First, burn that flag and enter Saskia. Abandon those infernal ties of those who only enrich themselves from your suffering and sorrows. Enrique instructs her as a first step to take before anything else. Okay, I will do it willingly, but tell me, who is this woman who is with you now? She insists on knowing who has changed Enrique so much that she no longer recognizes him after having weakened him with all her weapons. He is called God, the Almighty, the Cosmos, but not the one described by the seller of religions, but the one found in you, in the universe that goes beyond illusion, the destroyer of minds, the awakening, that which you can only live and observe in retrospect, being spiritual and not religious. Enrique responds, laughing, after a pause, and they both start laughing out loud. You're so amusing, silly, Nicole acknowledges, blushing. But it's true. Look, when you come into contact with the universe, you will feel a love that no one can give you, and you will feel something so fantastic, like never in your life, in fact. You will speak a language known to few, and you will be able to see, talk to, or feel everyone. Not just men and women, that is, entering pantheism, but also with all fauna and flora, that is, nature itself, the universe, and this leads you to another horizon. Enrique concludes with the same love that fills him for her. Quote, she may be the beauty or the beast, may be the famine or the feast, may turn each day into a heaven or a hell. She may be the mirror of my dreams, a smile reflected in a stream. She may not be what she may seem inside her shell. She, by Elvis Costello. Then I will start my journey, but not alone. Nicole looks into his eyes, while Enrique begins to relax his face and lets out a slight smile of acceptance. Giving a final turn, an exit to Nicole and her covert narcissism behaviors, the girl in red seeking the light, who is in search of seeing the truth, like each of us, and he has faith that she can find it. Brava, I know you can, but you can't walk this path with me, and it's better to cut this illusion of a new relationship right away, because I am pursuing higher goals, things that few understand, like in my research in innovation and technologies. However, this can make a change, and this is what I seek. I am so hungry for this that I have sacrificed so much to stop for a summer romance. And this is not just for me, but for all human beings and the planet. Then you will begin to feel that I don't dedicate enough time to you, and it will be detrimental to both of us, Enrique tells her. This brings Nicole to be petrified, speechless, and pained, with teary eyes. At the same time, she couldn't fully grasp what Enrique was saying at that moment. However, he doesn't provide more details because he just wants to conclude that complicated part of his life, aware that it was all necessary. To overcome one of the toughest trials for an empathetic Sigma INFJ. To suffer and make mistakes were small steps towards overcoming, waking up, growing, and most importantly, recognizing who he is, everything and nothing. Those who were his secret enemies actually only wanted to protect him and give him small hints to help him understand and transform. He had to go through this to be where he needed to be, to play a magnificent role. After doing everything right, he was awaited for years to be welcomed home by his family, opening up all possibilities for glorious new adventures on his sacred path, destined to be powerful. Because God is in him, providing that brightness and benevolence, allowing everything to function correctly, like the light dawning on his path and within his spirit and making everything work smoothly like der letzte Traum. Illusion, overcome. So, before he leaves, Nicole greets him with a congratulatory smile for overcoming such a tough test in the midst of total chaos, conflicts, fake news, and many false people. She was there like strong coffee that wakes you up to start the day, an energizer that pushes you on your journey with so much energy, but doesn't accompany you. Not because she was a bad person, but because she was aware that her task was done. Thank you, he responds to her. No, don't thank me yet, because we have a lot to do together. You don't have a secretary or a woman, and I'm available to be both, truly this time. You helped me break free from the chains that had me in hell like a stupid borderline blonde, she says, determined and grateful to him. Quote, I just can't let you go. For me, you were meant. And I didn't mean to hurt you, but I know that in the game of love, you reap what you sow. I feel it's time we should make up, baby. Wishing on a Star by Rose Royce. You also made me face my demons, my ignorance, and recognize my flaws. That's why you are my Tara, my daughter of the woman, my Eve, and I want to live this love with you. I'm aware that falling in love is not forever, but can mutate for better or worse. I'll enter in you for thousands of hours, thousands of weeks, or thousands of years. Only the Lord of the Spirits knows. But enough, pack your bags because we have to travel and embark on this roller coaster with a very difficult and heavy agenda. But together, we can do it better, Enrique responds, determined and joyful. And you are my Buddha, my son of man, my Adam. But the important thing is that when we embark on this roller coaster, we take care of each other and hold each other's hands tightly to avoid unnecessary accidents and falls that can deviate us from the path. Remember the falls we had, and I don't want to repeat them. That would be painful for me again. Do you understand, Enrique? Nicole reminds Enrique as she proposes to undertake this journey of life with him. Enrique remains grateful because Nicole helps him recognize many things he thought were real. offering the awakening of a samurai who says, "True victory does not come from defeating an enemy. True victory comes from giving love and changing your enemy's heart. Forgiving those who couldn't support you helps you empower your soul to make room for your best version and truly recognize who the real covert narcissists are, because hands must be balanced horizontally in men and women who have the same opportunity to align with the universe. No one above or below. We must understand the 4 elements of the path for women and men, represented in different phases as 1. Suffering, 2. Healing, 3. Awakening, and 4. Rebirth. In the woman's hand, we must understand that the crawling worm represents 1. The necessary suffering after the healing process, 2. Depicted as a cocoon, then 3. Awakening as the butterfly emerges from the cocoon, and finally 4. Rebirth with the empty cocoon at the minor finger's end and the butterfly flying around. It enjoys its second rebirth that life offers to each of us until it reaches the index finger of the path. In the man's hand, it includes 1. A small, dried orange tree without leaves, a large, empty land with a huge sore, and skin as dry as suffering itself. After 2. The healing process. The small orange tree is still dry but has a few leaves, fresh soil to fill the large voids. Sores of dried skin closing in the driest and dehydrated areas. Then, in the awakening stage, 3. The small orange tree is no longer dry. The skin is hydrated, it has some new and healthy leaves, some orange flowers, and a beautiful orange fruit. Finally, 4. Rebirth with the completely healed little orange tree, full of fresh and naturally colored leaves. Green grass in the old hollow, now fertile, healthier skin, and at last, the orange fruit falls from the tree. It detaches with a small stem and a leaf on it, rotating in the air as it falls down, reacting to gravity, leaving the ego to share it with the person he loves. Above the clouds, the Lord of the Spirits sits in all his splendor, stronger and wiser, leaning forward, extending his energetic hand to touch his sons and daughters. He touches the center of both hands, female and male, which are in a horizontal stability, meaning in harmony and balance, creating a divine triangle, a clean DNA of impurities for the new creatures of Saskia, who will have see and fill the new world. Because all these situations of the illusionary mess that the whole world lives through reminds Enrique of the beautiful story of Mahayana Buddhism outside of the Diamond Sutra. A couple living a peaceful, healthy, and joyful life in a small Vietnamese village with their son had to separate due to an unforeseen war that broke out in the country. The man was forced to leave home to defend his family, land, and people, being away for more than 3 years in this sad conflict among civilians, i.e., among themselves, bitterly leaving his wife and son at a very young age. When the war ends and the man can finally return home, he is delighted to reunite with his family. However, shortly after seeing his beloved wife and son, he receives the bad news that his child does not recognize him as his father when he starts talking to the little one. The child tells him that the mother speaks with another man who is his real father, not him. "You are not my dad. My dad is someone who comes home only at night." The child cries when this unknown man approaches, and the mother is not present at that moment. The man is petrified by such news, but does not discuss the matter with his wife. On the contrary, he maintains a silent internal war, and she does not understand why her man has a hostile attitude towards her. Moreover, when they go to the temple to thank for being reunited after a torturous war, he does not recognize her and does not include her in the ritual of gratitude to their ancestors in the temple. Quote, "Don't chase relationships. Instead, focus on your growth, values, and cultivating kindness, the right person will find their way to you at the perfect moment without the need for chasing. Unknown. This emotionally kills the woman, and after living a few weeks of psychological torture and bad vibes between the man and her because he does not even speak to her, she becomes desperate about this unpleasant situation. Having tried everything to get closer to her man, she decides to commit suicide, jumping off the bridge that connected the two parts of the river in that small and peaceful countryside town. After the cremation of the woman and mourning for such a loss of his beloved and the mother of his child, one night talking to the son while having dinner together, the son recognizes the man that the woman had. Yes, that man who came every night to keep him company and cheer him up at the end of the day. "This is my dad," the child shouts when they sit at the table to eat with a lit candle, meaning this man was the shadow on the wall of the father. "How, my son?" the father asks the child in confusion. "It's him. Call Mommy." Mom always talked to my dad. They laughed and talked to me about everything before taking me to bed. The son repeats to his father, quote, "Really hurt me, baby. Really cut me, baby. How can you have a day without a night? You're the book that I have opened, and now I've got to know much more." Unfinished sympathy. Massive attack. At that moment, the father understood the misinterpretation and prejudice he had. Blinded by jealousy that didn't let him understand that the mother, to not make the absence of her man and the father of the child felt during those long 3 years, had created an imaginary father with his own shadow on the wall. Every night they were at the dinner table, they played, talked, and when the child was sleepy, they would take him to bed together, while they told him a fairy tale. But this is the mental game of the sick illusion of a human being living in a sick society. It reacts without responding, without seeing beyond the external inputs that always aim to confuse you. That's why it's essential always to listen to your heart before the lies of the mind, without violence or hatred for anyone or anything. It's then that you can connect the invisible dots of life with wisdom and free consciousness.